The Pittsburgh Panthers were unable to overcome both turnovers and injuries during a 34-27 overtime loss to Tennessee on Sunday. After jumping out to a 10-0 lead, it looked like Pittsburgh's offense, was firing on all cylinders, but Pittsburgh had an opportunity to go up as much as 17 points, but a Keaton Slovis interception halted the Panthers' momentum. Tennessee would eventually get its offense going on the next possession and score on that drive. That particular sequence is, I think, the one that changed momentum. And here are the 5 takeaways from that game that I, felt, were important. Tennessee's interception of that particular pass by Keaton Slovis, that changed momentum. I touched on it a little bit just a minute ago, but Pittsburgh jumped out to the 10-0 lead. They could have went up either 13-0 or 17-0. Instead, Keaton Slovis had a pass intercepted in Tennessee's end zone, and that killed Pittsburgh's momentum. Up until that point, Pittsburgh had stifled Tennessee's offense for the first 2 series of the game for Tennessee, and they had Tennessee's defense on its heels early in the first quarter. Tennessee would go on to score a touchdown on the following drive, and then things changed. Number 2, I thought Israel Abanikanda stepped up against Tennessee. I had to chalk up his first week 1 performance against West Virginia, where he had 8 carries and 15 yards as an aberration. He looked completely different this week and set the tone with a 72-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. He finished with 25 carries, 54 yards, and 1 touchdown. Looked much more explosive and ran with authority on Saturday against Tennessee. It's not known how long Rodney Hammond will be out for Pittsburgh. He didn't play this week against Tennessee, but if this performance is an indication of what Izzy can do for Pittsburgh this season, then the Panthers running game should be okay until Hammond comes back. Of course, you still have Vincent Davis. All right, and number 3, Tennessee's ability to pressure Pittsburgh's quarterbacks, I think, made a big impact on the game. Tennessee hit and harassed Slovis so much during the first half that, unfortunately, Slovis was not, able to return for the second half. Pittsburgh's quarterbacks were sacked 4 times. That may not seem like a lot, but when you add in the fact that Tennessee also was credited with 16 quarterback hurries, it brings it all. It's a big deal. Neither Slovis or Nick Patty, who replaced Slovis, had much time to get comfortable in the pocket. Tennessee decided not to let Slovis stand back in the pocket and pick them apart. That decision paid off for the Volunteers. The 4th thing, I think Pittsburgh's injuries are starting to be a concern. All right, it's hard to tell who's actually going to play for Pittsburgh since Coach Nardizzi doesn't make it known who will play, and that makes sense. You don't want to give the competition a leg up. Rodney Hammond, a running back; Gabe Hoy, offensive lineman; Carter Warren, offensive lineman; Desmond Alexandre, defensive lineman. All those players did not play today for Pittsburgh. Play on Saturday for Pittsburgh. So, Owen Drexel, Keaton Slovis, they both didn't finish the game due to injuries against Tennessee. So, that's 5 starters on offense that weren't available to Pittsburgh for a full game on Saturday. Despite that, Pittsburgh still had a chance to win overtime, but, as you already know, they were unable to score. So, and the 5th thing, Pittsburgh's pass defense, I thought they had a rough day. The defense giving up 27 points to a high-powered Tennessee offense during regulation. Really not anything to be ashamed of, because in today's game, it caters to the offense, so you expect high scores. However, with that being said, Tennessee wide receivers, Jalen Hyatt, 11 catches for 73 yards, Cedric Tillman, 9 catches for 162 yards, and Brew McCoy, 4 catches for 58 yards. They all combined to give Pittsburgh secondary problems, and that's a credit to Hendon Hooker, the quarterback for Tennessee. Their defense looked much better. The run defense looked much better against Tennessee than it did against West Virginia last week. But, Tennessee was able to, take shots downfield and get big gains and, touchdowns against Pittsburgh's cornerbacks. So, Pittsburgh will want to clean that up in the next, before next week's game. And, Pittsburgh's goal is to win the ACC championship. Even with Saturday's loss, that goal is still reality. Pittsburgh is dealing with key injuries on the offensive side of the ball. It's still not known whether Slovis will be available this week or Hammond as well. And Nick Patty limped away from the game, so it's a lot Pittsburgh has to deal with now from an injury standpoint. So, the hope is Rodney Hammond is able to come back next week as well. If Pittsburgh wants to repeat as champions, they'll definitely need to get healthy soon. All right, so those are my 5 takeaways. Make sure you stay tuned to Panther 247 for more Pitt football team and recruiting news.